Today we're going to be changing the old spark plugs on my ZZR600. It's a Kawasaki, and we're going to be replacing them with these here. They're the NGK CR9EK, and that's what I'm going to be replacing the stock ones with. So to complete this job, you need an assortment of screwdrivers. I've got two big flat blades here, a number 2 Phillips, various assortment of pliers, regular pair here, I've got a pair of needle nose here, and then a C-clamp removal. Just helps on some of the springs for the tubes. 3/8" ratchet, some type of extension, 5/8" spark plug socket. And just to make things easier because of this cramped spaces, I've got a 1/4" drive here, an extension, an 8mm, 10mm normal size socket, 10mm deep, 12mm. I've got my fancy spark plug removal tool. All this is an old piece of spark plug wire from a van. And for any type of cleanup work, make sure you have a good card cleaner, something that doesn't leave residue. Something for lube if you're going to be doing any type of cleanup and lubrication of parts, particularly something like the petcock valve. I really recommend the DuPont. It's what I use on my chain, and I love the stuff. Last but not least, some anti-seize for the spark plugs themselves. First on our step is taking the fuel and turning it to off so we don't leak any fuel. Next we're going to pop the seat up. Pull our seat off, set it aside where it's safe. And right here on the back, we've got 2 screws. And as you can see, those screws go up on this metal plate to the gas tank, so we had to pull those off. Okay, now that we have both of those bolts removed, there's another bolt that has to be removed here at the bottom of the seat. Pull it out, make sure the washer's still on it, and then we can pull this part off. Now up in here, you'll see the little rubber spot. There's just a tab that pushes into it, and that releases, and now your panel piece can just sit there and flap. Do the same thing on the other side. Now we're going to remove our overflow tube. Just pull on the little middle spring and work it down, and then just work the overflow tube up. Just set it aside. Okay, and then right down in here, we've got a 12mm that holds on the back of the gas tank that we had to remove. Right underneath the triple, we have 2 bolts on either side that are part of the bracketing system that hold on the gas tank. Now, just so you know, this is a 8mm bolt that's gone through here. We need to remove the top line off of our reserve switch. The top line is the one that's actually going to run back down into the motorcycle. The bottom line is the one that's tied into the gas tank itself. So all we do is we take a pair of pliers, squeeze together the clip, pull it down, and slowly work our hose off. A lot of times you have to get a flathead screwdriver to help work the hose off. Set the line aside. Now the fuel line's been disconnected that's going to the motorcycle. Okay, so I have the gas tank propped up, and all the screwdrivers and stuff are just so you can see what's going on here. Okay, so this is our sending unit right up here. This is what's going to be sending the signal through these wires to tell us how the gas level is. Then if we follow that wire down, you'll see that's on that connector right there. So we pop that connector off and then our tank will be loose. Tank off, and I put it on a towel on the floor because I don't want to scratch it or anything. And as you can see, it's not leaking gas. There's no need to drain all the gas out of it. And on top, we got to remove the humongous airbox. Remove the big air hose coming off the back. As always, we just squeeze together the clamp and work it back down the hose a little bit. And then we can pull our hose off. At the front of the box here, we're going to pull off our breather tube. Just slowly work it out. It'll come out, and then right on the front here, right at the triple, we've got a 10mm bolt that we need to remove. Then we're going to remove all of our other 10mm bolts that are all over the airbox. Okay, now that we're done with that, we simply pick straight up on the airbox. And there we go. Here's the inside of our airbox, our filter. Now what I've done is I've actually left the screws inside the airbox. That way I know exactly where they're going. We just pull our filter out. The top part's just a plastic piece, and then you have a filter membrane, and then you have another plastic piece underneath. You just pull the whole unit out together. Great time to go ahead and replace the filter if you have a new one. And pull our metal filter screen out as well. Okay, down in here we've got two 10mm bolt. You can either use a 10mm or a Phillips. I recommend the 10mm because it's a lot easier to get it down in there. On the back of the airbox we have another tube here, which pull off. Once again, squeeze the spring and then just pull the tube off. Okay, so now that we have all that done, just pick up on the box. And up here at the front, you're going to have two tubes, one over here and one over here. And you can just gently work it back and forth until it comes out. And on the bottom, you got one more tube up front. Get a pair of pliers, pull off the spring, and pull off the tube. The airbox is removed, and because I'm paranoid and I don't want anything down inside the carburetors, I'm taking these blue disposable shop towels and shoving them down into the intakes so nothing gets down in there. Number one is on the left-hand side under the distributor cap. Here's number two. Number three, we got another distributor cap on the right. And number four is under it. So we need to pull these off, these caps off on the sides, so we can actually get our plugs out that are in here. And for that, we're simply going to get a 10mm and back our bolts out. There's our bolt and our spacer, and then we have another one, as you can see, right up front, right here, and then another spacer behind it. Remove that one as well. So we removed our spacers and bolts, and now our distributor is loose. I'm actually going to put these bolts right back in where they go so that I don't get them lost. That would be very bad. Now I may have to remove them whenever I actually pull out the spark plug itself, but that's okay. I'd rather have to remove them at one point than to lose them. So there we go. Now to get our spark plug boots off, gently spin it back and forth and pull up, and the boots will come out. And you can see the boot's real long. Now again, I know the order. We've got the order here. It's 1, then in the middle, right here, is 2. And then we've got number 3. And then on the end, the one we just pulled out, as we can see, is a number 4. so I know where all of my spark plugs are. Now on the unit itself, we put it back in place. We will see, we'll trace number 2 comes off the top and goes to number 2 spark plug. Number 3 comes off the bottom, and it was the one I just pulled, and it goes in number 3 hole. So in case you're wondering, in case you have an accident and are missing it, that's how it goes. Okay, now we can just set it aside, keep it out of the way. So we got the first 3, 1, 2, 3, all open, and now we need to pull the block off this side, same thing, and pull number 1 plug wire off. On this side I'm going to show you another solution. You can actually leave the bolts along with the spacers inside the unit. You got to be more careful with the distributor though doing it that way, because these can fall out pretty easy. Okay, so off the top of it goes over here, and that's where we have the number 4. You can see it here, number 4. So that's the one that goes over here on the far right. If you were riding the bike, trace it back, and again it goes on the top. Number 1 comes off the bottom and goes right into cylinder number 1. Okay, so we have all 4 out now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take an air hose and I'm going to blow air down in there. I have not removed the spark plugs yet. That way we remove any debris that might have fallen down in there, any rust or anything that may be down in there, and we blow it out so it does not fall down into the cylinders. Everything on the bike is going to be metric except for the spark plugs themselves. Spark plugs are going to be 5/8. So here we go. I've got mine on a swivel extension, so the end actually pivots a little bit, which just makes it a little bit easier getting down into the hole. Slide it down into the hole, get it to set down on top of the spark plug, give it a little torque, and the plug should loosen right up. As you can see, mine was extremely simple to remove, which is the way they should be. They should not be locked up on you. You don't have to pull it all the way out. Right now, I would advise you to remove everything, or loosen up everything, and then come back and remove them one by one as you do the swap job. That way, if anything falls down in there, you don't have to worry about it. Back off my bolt and stand here so I can fit my socket down in there. So as you can see, this is all nice and easy. No issues removing these spark plugs, which is the way it's supposed to be. And now we're going to swap them out one at a time. Okay, so you just push it down firm on the spark plug, pull up, and there's your spark plug. Okay, so here's my new plug in my holder. I'm going to take some anti-seize and I'm going to rub it right around the threads, and that's going to make sure that it doesn't lock in on you. Now what I always do is I start this anti-seize up top right at the tip, and then I squirt a little bit out, and then I use my finger and slowly just pull it down the unit and gently put it back down in the hole, and we We always get it started like this. You do not get it started under torque. Because if you do that, you can easily cross-thread these things, and then you're screwed. Is put our socket in and tighten her up. Now, you can do it to the proper foot-pounds if you want to, or the method I have used on all of my vehicles has always been do it till it's hand tight like this, so you can't turn it anymore with your hand. And now that's my right hand, which is a stronger one. There we go. Now that's what I always do. And then you take your ratchet, put it on top, and you do another quarter turn. Now if we look here, quarter turn's real simple. Right now a wrench is going over here. A quarter turn would simply mean that it comes over here. Okay, now we simply repeat that process for the other three. Number 1, number 3, and number 4. Unfortunately, there's no dealerships around here where I can find this old air filter, so I'm going to have to order it online. top part back on. And we pull out our stuff that protects the carburetors, and we're ready to reassemble the airbox.